Right now, you are too soft for the life you claim you want. You break when things get hard, you retreat when the pressure mounts, and you sit around wondering why you aren't winning. That stops today. This audiobook is not a suggestion. It is a blueprint. It is the exact, uncompromising framework to forge an iron mind. Over the next hour, we are going to strip away your excuses, destroy your fragility, and rebuild you into someone who cannot be broken by life's heaviest blows. Listen closely and do exactly as I say. Your transformation starts now. Chapter 1. Kill the Victim Narrative. Look in the mirror. Look at the life you have built up to this exact second. The bank account, the career, the relationships, the physical shape of your body. Are you satisfied? If you are listening to this, the answer is no. You want more. You demand more. But there is a massive, impenetrable wall standing between the life you currently tolerate and the life you actually want. That wall is your mouth. That wall is your endless stream of excuses. That wall is the story you tell yourself about why you aren't winning. You blame the economy. You blame your upbringing. You blame your boss, your partner, the algorithm, the government, and your sheer bad luck. You have a perfectly crafted, socially acceptable list of reasons why you are exactly where you are. And every single item on that list is a lie designed to keep you weak. Victimhood is a drug. It is a warm, comfortable blanket that shields you from the cold, harsh reality of personal responsibility. When you point the finger outward, you instantly absolve yourself of the requirement to do the hard work. If it is someone else's fault, then it is someone else's job to fix it, right? Wrong. Listen to me very closely and let these words burn into your subconscious mind. No one is coming to save you. I will repeat it until it breaks through your defensive shell. No one is coming to save you. There is no white knight. There is no secret benefactor. The universe does not owe you a sudden stroke of good fortune just because you have had a hard time. The cavalry is not coming. You are entirely, completely, and brutally on your own. And until you accept that terrifying fact, you will remain trapped in a cage of your own design. Complaining is the language of the defeated. Every time you open your mouth to complain about your circumstances, you are burning energetic capital. You possess a finite amount of mental and physical energy every single day. When you spend that energy crying about how unfair the game is, you have zero energy left to actually play the game. It is a complete and total waste of your most valuable resource. Let's look at the real world. Let's look at the arena where winners and losers are separated. Imagine a massive economic downturn. The market crashes. Overnight, supply chains freeze, clients pull their contracts, and bank accounts are drained. We have two entrepreneurs. Both are hit by the exact same storm. Both lose 90% of their revenue in a matter of weeks. Entrepreneur A embraces the victim narrative. He takes to social media to write long, tragic posts about the unfairness of the industry. He sits at the bar with other failing business owners trading stories about how the government destroyed their livelihoods. He files for bankruptcy, packs up his life, and spends the next 20 years working a mediocre job, bitterly telling anyone who will listen that he used to be a CEO until the system screwed him over. Then we have Entrepreneur B. Entrepreneur B takes the hit. It hurts. He bleeds, but he refuses to complain. He looks at the smoking crater of his business and accepts total ownership. He realizes that complaining won't put a single dollar back into his payroll account. Instead of crying about the market crash, he aggressively studies it. He looks for the new gaps. He identifies the new pain points of his remaining customers. He completely restructures his product, pivots his entire service model, and builds a new recession-proof business from the ashes of the old one. 5 years later, he is making triple his original revenue. What was the difference?
It wasn't the economy. The storm was identical. The difference was the mind. Entrepreneur B knew the ultimate truth. No one is coming to save you. You have a choice. Every single time life knocks you flat on your back, you have a choice. You can stay on the ground and complain about the referee, or you can get up, spit out the blood, and adjust your stance. Now, I can hear the objections forming in your head. I can hear you saying, "But you don't understand my trauma. You don't understand the disadvantages I was born with. I started miles behind the starting line." I hear you, and I am telling you that life is profoundly, deeply unfair. That is a fact. Some people are born on third base, and some people are born in the parking lot outside the stadium. But knowing that fact does not change your reality. Your past trauma is not your fault, but your present healing is absolutely your responsibility. Your disadvantages are real, but using them as an excuse for lifelong mediocrity is a choice. You have to kill the victim narrative. You have to take a knife to it and sever it from your identity. If you want to build an iron mind, you must strip away every single excuse you have ever leaned on. It's not about your bad luck, it's about your brutal discipline. When you stop blaming the world, a radical shift happens. You suddenly realize that if you are the architect of your failures, you are also the sole architect of your success. That realization is terrifying, but it is also the most liberating force on earth. You hold all the power. You dictate the terms. You don't need their permission. You don't need society's permission to be great. You don't need the approval of the people who wronged you to move forward. You don't need the market to be perfect. You just need to shut your mouth, put your head down, and do the work. Every time you catch yourself about to complain today, stop, bite your tongue, swallow the excuse. Replace the complaint with a question. What am I going to do about it? That's the key, shifting from passive observation to aggressive action. If the job pays terribly, what are you going to do about it? If your body is weak, what are you going to do about it? If your relationship is failing, what are you going to do about it? Stop waiting for the storm to pass. Stop waiting for someone to hand you an umbrella. Build your own shelter. Lay the bricks yourself. Because I will say it one last time, and I want it to echo in your mind long after this chapter ends. No one is coming to save you. You are the only one who can pull yourself out of the mud. You have killed the victim narrative. You have taken ownership of your circumstances. But ownership is only the first step. Now you must learn to navigate the pain of growth. Now let's talk about why you must actively seek out the very things you are terrified of.
Chapter 2. Embrace the friction. You survived Chapter 1. You killed the excuses. You stared at the brutal reality of your own reflection and accepted absolute ownership. But clearing out the mental garbage is only step 1. Now we have to build the foundation. And I am going to tell you something you do not want to hear. You are addicted to comfort. Your entire life up to this very second has been meticulously engineered to avoid friction. You want the thermostat set to exactly 72 degrees. You want your food delivered directly to your door with the push of a button. You want the shortcut, the life hack, the easy way out. You want the massive reward without the agonizing sacrifice. Wake up. Comfort is a slow, silent killer. Comfort is the ultimate enemy of progress. If you want to forge an iron mind, you must completely rewire your biological relationship with hardship. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is the raw material required for strength. Every single time you shrink away from a challenge, you are choosing weakness. You are casting a conscious vote for mediocrity. Society has conditioned you to flinch when things get hard, to pull your hand away from the hot stove. I am telling you to put your hands directly into the flames. Run toward the pain. When you see a difficult task, your natural instinct is to procrastinate, to find a mindless distraction, to scroll your life away on a glowing screen until the anxiety numbs out. You must destroy that instinct. You must hunt down the hardest task on your schedule and attack it first. Run toward the pain. When you avoid discomfort, your world shrinks. Your capabilities atrophy. The only way to expand your limits is to deliberately, violently crash into them. Let's look at the biological reality of your own body. Look at the science of muscle hypertrophy. How does a human muscle actually grow? It does not grow by lifting light, easy weights. It does not grow when you are sitting on the couch feeling well rested. A muscle only grows when it is placed under massive, unbearable stress. When you load a barbell with heavy iron and force your body to move it against gravity, you are literally causing physical trauma to your muscle fibers. You are creating microscopic tears. You are causing cellular damage. It burns. It aches. Your brain screams at you to drop the bar. It is pure, agonizing friction. But what happens next? Your body is a survival machine. It responds to that trauma. It repairs those microscopic tears. It weaves new, dense tissue. It comes back harder, thicker, and stronger so that the next time it faces that exact same weight, it does not fail. The muscle requires the tear to trigger the growth. Without the damage, there is no development. Your mind operates on the exact same biological principle. Mental resilience is not a magical gift bestowed upon the lucky. It is a harsh adaptation to stress. If you never stress your mind, it remains fragile, it remains soft, it remains prone to snapping at the very first sign of real-world pressure. You have to create mental micro-tears. You have to subject your psyche to heavy lifting. It's not about your temporary fatigue, it's about your permanent discipline. It's not about your natural weakness, it's about your relentless discipline. You must build mental calluses, and calluses are only formed through repeated aggressive friction. Run toward the pain. So what does this actually look like in your daily life? It means you stop hiding from the hard things. When you know there is a difficult, awkward conversation you need to have with your partner, your friend, or your boss, you do not wait for the right time. The right time is a cowardly myth. You walk straight up to them, you look them in the eye, and you initiate the conflict. Run toward the pain. When your alarm goes off at 4:30 in the morning, the bed is warm and the room is pitch black. The friction is the cold floor. Step onto it immediately. Do not pull the blankets up. Throw them off. When the workout gets grueling, when your lungs are burning and your legs are shaking, you do not quit at 10 reps. You push for 12. You have a choice. Every hour of every day, you are presented with a fork in the road, the path of least resistance or the path of most resistance. You can either be the person who breaks under the heavy weight of life or the person who uses that exact same weight to build an unbreakable foundation. That's the key, shifting your perspective. You must stop viewing hardship as a cruel punishment from the universe and start viewing hardship as a mandatory training ground. You are an athlete in the sport of life, and friction is your gym. People will look at you like you're crazy. Your peers who are still wrapped tight in their comfortable blankets of victimhood will tell you to relax. They will tell you to take a day off. They will tell you that you are pushing yourself too hard and taking life too seriously. Listen to me carefully. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval to suffer for your own greatness. Their comfort is their coffin. Let them lie in it. You are building something entirely different. You are building an iron mind. And iron is only forged in the extreme heat of the forge. It is hammered on the anvil. Every single day, you must actively seek out at least one thing that makes you deeply uncomfortable. Take the freezing cold shower, do the intense, brutal cardio, practice radical, uncomfortable honesty, engage in deliberate isolation, Do something that sucks. Condition your brain to expect the friction, to embrace the friction, and to consume the friction for fuel. Stop running away. Stop seeking the soft cushions of modern life. Turn around, face the storm. Run toward the pain. Because the person waiting for you on the other side of that pain is the untouchable, unbreakable version of yourself you were always meant to be. You have learned to embrace the fire. You understand that friction is the only path to growth, and you are ready to seek it out. But even with that knowledge, your own brain will still try to trick you. Your mind will try to strike a cowardly bargain to keep you safe in the moment of truth. We are going to shut that weakness down right now. Chapter 3. Stop negotiating with yourself. You embraced the friction. You stepped into the fire. You made the conscious decision to stop running from pain and start using it as fuel. But your battle is far from over. In fact, the most dangerous enemy is not the heavy weight in the gym. It is not the crushing demands of your career. It is not the external world at all. The greatest threat to your iron mind lives directly between your ears. It is your own inner voice. Right now, there is a weak, pathetic negotiator living inside your head. It is a liar. It is a saboteur. And its only mission is to keep you soft, comfortable, and utterly average. This voice does not scream at you to quit. It is far more manipulative than that. It whispers. It sounds incredibly reasonable. It tells you to take a cheat day. It tells you that you worked hard yesterday, so you deserve a break today. It tells you that one missed workout will not ruin your progress. It asks for a pause. It asks for a compromise. You must silence that voice. You must cut its throat. Success requires removing emotion entirely from your daily commitments. You must stop acting like a creature driven by feelings and start operating like a machine. Machines do not feel tired. Machines do not ask for a mental health day. Machines execute their programming without question. To achieve this state, you must burn this phrase into your neural pathways. Listen to me. Decide once, execute forever. I will say it again. Decide once, execute forever. When you negotiate with yourself, you reopen a door that should have been permanently locked. You waste mental energy debating an action you already committed to. This is a fatal error. Let us look at the most common, devastating psychological defeat in human history, the morning routine. It is 5 o'clock in the morning. The room is pitch black. The floor is freezing cold. You are exhausted. Suddenly, your alarm clock shatters the silence. This is the very first test of your day. This is the moment your iron mind is either forged or fractured. What happens? The negotiator wakes up. The voice whispers, "Just 10 more minutes. You stayed up late working. Your body needs the rest to recover. 10 minutes won't change your life." It sounds logical. It sounds kind. It is poison. The moment you lift your hand and hit that snooze button, you have lost. You have suffered a catastrophic psychological defeat. You made a promise to yourself the night before. You set that alarm with intention. By hitting snooze, your very first action of the day is a lie. Your first action is a betrayal of your own word. You have established a precedent of compromise. And if you compromise at 5 in the morning, you will compromise at noon. You will compromise at 5 in the afternoon. You will compromise your entire life. You have a choice. Every single morning when that alarm sounds, you have a choice. You can negotiate with weakness or you can rise with authority. The person with an iron mind does not debate the alarm clock. They do not lie in bed weighing the pros and cons of getting up. The debate happened months ago. The debate happened years ago. Decide once, execute forever. When you set the rule that you wake up at 5, the decision is made permanently. The alarm is simply the trigger to execute the program. You throw the blankets off. You put your feet on the cold floor. You stand up. There is zero hesitation. There is zero negotiation. You eliminate the space between the stimulus and the response. That's the key, the elimination of the pause. The pause is where the negotiator lives. The pause is where doubt breathes. You must close that gap. Alarm sounds, feet hit the floor, action. This protocol applies to every single standard in your life: the diet, the study schedule, the sales calls, the gym. You do not wake up and ask yourself, "Do I feel like working out today?" Who cares how you feel? Your feelings are irrelevant to your goals. Your emotions are fickle, fleeting, and weak. If you only do the work when you feel motivated, you will be a failure. Motivation is a myth sold to weak people. Discipline is the only currency that matters. It's not about your fatigue, it's about your relentless discipline. When the negotiator tells you to eat the junk food, you do not debate the nutritional macros. You do not negotiate a smaller portion. You say no, because you decided your diet 3 months ago. Decide once, execute forever. When you sit down to make 50 cold calls and the voice tells you to stop at 45 because you have done enough, you do not listen. You do not negotiate. You make the final 5 calls. Decide once, execute forever. You must become ruthless with your own internal dialogue. Treat the voice of compromise as a hostile invader. When it speaks, you do not engage. You attack. You double down on the work. If the voice says run 3 miles, you run 4. If the voice says rest for 1 minute, you rest for 30 seconds. You punish the negotiator. You show it who is in command. People around you will not understand this. They will see your robotic consistency and call you obsessed. They will tell you to loosen up. They will offer you the very excuses your inner voice tries to sell you. You don't need their permission. You don't need their permission to be a machine. You don't need their permission to hold yourself to a standard they cannot even comprehend. They are negotiating their way into a life of regret. You are executing your way to freedom. Transformation requires absolute compliance to your own rules. Stop giving yourself an out. Stop building back doors to your commitments. Burn the boats. There is no retreat. There is no plan B. There is only the standard and your relentless, unfeeling execution of that standard. The next time you are faced with a hard task and your mind begs for a break, remember the blueprint. Shut the voice down, turn off the emotion, flip the switch. Decide once, execute forever. You have silenced the negotiator. You have removed emotion from the equation and transformed yourself into an executing machine. You are no longer your own worst enemy. But there is another silent killer lurking in the shadows. It is the invisible string that society attaches to your ego, pulling you away from your true purpose. Now, let's talk about the true currency of your life and the heavy tax you pay when you care what other people think.
Chapter 4. The Silent Cost of Seeking Validation. You silenced the negotiator. You removed emotion from the equation and transformed yourself into an executing machine. You are no longer your own worst enemy. But there is another parasite feeding on your potential. It is not inside your head. It is outside. It is the crowd. You are addicted to the crowd. Your entire life you have been conditioned to seek the approval of others, your family, your friends, your co-workers, complete strangers on the internet. You are a junkie for their validation. Every move you make, every goal you set, every risk you consider taking, you are subconsciously asking a room full of average people if what you are doing is okay. You are begging for a pat on the head. You want them to tell you that you were smart, that you were doing the right thing, that you are on the right track. Wake up. Chasing external approval hollows out your internal core. It makes you a puppet. It makes you a slave to the opinions of people who are not even in the arena. An iron mind requires absolute, uncompromising independence from the cheering or the booing of the crowd. You must learn to operate in a total vacuum. You must sever the invisible strings that society has attached to your ego.
Let this truth anchor your every action from this moment forward. Your applause is your results. I want you to burn that phrase into your brain. Your applause is your results. Not the likes on your post, not the compliments from your peers, not the pride in your parents' eyes. The physical, undeniable reality of what you have built is the only metric that matters. Let me paint a picture for you. Let's look at the classic tragedy of the safe path. Imagine a young man with a fire in his chest. He wants to be an entrepreneur. He has a vision to build a disruptive business from the ground up. He is willing to take the risk, but he also has parents. Parents who mean well, but who are governed entirely by fear. They look at his risky ambition and they panic. They pressure him to get a real job. They tell him to go to law school, to become an accountant, to take the safe corporate route, get the guaranteed salary, and be respectable. He caves. He trades his massive ambition for their immediate approval. He goes to school, he gets the degree, he puts on the suit, he lands the safe job. His parents clap, the neighbors are impressed. He gets all the validation he ever craved. Fast forward 15 years. This man is sitting in a gray cubicle staring at a screen, utterly miserable. He makes a decent living, but his soul is entirely hollow. He hates his life. He is bitter, angry, and drowning in a quiet, suffocating regret. He spends his weekends numbing his mind because he cannot stand the reality of his own existence. Why? Because he built a prison out of validation and he locked himself inside it. He lived his life for the cheap seats, and now he is paying the ultimate price. You have a choice. Right now, today, you have a choice. You can live your life to appease the fragile expectations of the crowd, or you can live it for the quiet, savage satisfaction of your own iron mind.
That's the key. Recognizing exactly whose life you are actually living. Are your goals actually your goals, or are they just the things you think will make other people respect you? Why do you care what they think? They are not in the arena with you. They are sitting safely in the stands, eating popcorn, criticizing the gladiators who were actually bleeding in the dirt. They have never taken a real risk. They have never pushed themselves to the absolute breaking point. They do not know what it takes to build an empire, to forge an elite physique, or to harden a mind. So why on earth are you asking them for directions? You don't need their permission. You don't need their permission to be a savage. You don't need their permission to abandon the traditional path. You don't need their approval to outgrow them, to leave them behind, and to ascend to a level they cannot even comprehend. When you share your massive goals with small-minded people, they will tell you it is impossible. They will tell you to be realistic. They are not telling you what you can do. They are projecting their own limitations onto you. Stop accepting their weakness as your reality. It's not about your insecurity. It's about your absolute discipline. If you want to transform, here is your behavioral instruction. This is what you must do immediately. Go dark. Stop telling people what you are going to do. Stop announcing your plans. Every single time you talk about your goals, your brain gets a premature hit of dopamine. You feel like you achieved something just by opening your mouth. You satisfy your ego without doing a single drop of the work. Shut your mouth. Starve your ego. Work in the shadows. If nobody ever saw your accomplishments, would you still push this hard? If you couldn't post the workout, would you still lift the heavy weight? If you couldn't brag about the revenue, would you still grind until 2 in the morning? The answer must be yes. You must decouple your self-worth from external feedback. When the crowd doos you, you do not flinch. When the crowd cheers for you, you do not smile. Both reactions are traps. They are attempts to control your emotional state. An iron mind is entirely self-governing. It runs on internal power. You manufacture your own validation through the relentless, daily execution of your own standards. Your applause is your results. Your applause is the bank account you built. Your applause is the physical strength you forged. Your applause is the unbreakable resilience of your own mind. Stop trading your massive potential for a fleeting moment of social acceptance. Be willing to be misunderstood. Be willing to be the villain in their story if it means being the hero in your own. The people who criticize your obsession today will be the exact same people asking you for a job in 5 years. Ignore them. Put your head down. Do the work. Your applause is your results. You have severed the strings of external validation. You no longer care what the cheap seats have to say. You are moving in silence. You are building in the dark. But as you isolate yourself and raise the stakes, a new and terrifying enemy will rise from within. The pressure will mount. The unknown will loom large, and the fear of failure will threaten to paralyze you entirely. It is time to learn the ultimate cure for overthinking.
Chapter 5. Outwork your anxiety. You cut the strings of external validation. You stepped out of the spotlight. You stopped caring about the cheap seats, and you are finally moving in silence. You are building in the dark. But as you isolate yourself and raise the stakes, a new and terrifying enemy emerges. It does not come from the outside. It comes from within. It is the suffocating grip of your own anxiety. It is the paralysis of overthinking. Your mind is a primal survival machine. When it is left idle, it manufactures threats. It spins endless worst-case scenarios. You sit there, staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, analyzing every possible way you could fail. You plan, you strategize, you wait for the perfect moment to execute. You tell yourself you are just being careful. You tell yourself you are just preparing. You are lying to yourself. You are not preparing. You are hiding. Overthinking is the ultimate breeding ground for cowardice. The longer you sit still, the bigger the monster becomes. The longer you wait to take action, the heavier the doubt gets. Anxiety loves stagnation. It feeds on your stillness. It wants you frozen. There is only one known cure for this fear. It is not meditation. It is not journaling. It is not sitting in a circle and talking about your feelings. The cure is aggressive, unrelenting action. I need you to internalize this unbreakable law of human psychology. Motion beats emotion. I will repeat it until it is the only thought left in your head. Motion beats emotion. Action is the absolute destroyer of anxiety. Momentum instantly crushes the terror of the unknown. You cannot be paralyzed by fear when you are sprinting toward the solution. Let us look at the real world. Let us look at a scenario that breaks millions of people every single day. The crushing weight of financial ruin. Imagine a mounting pile of debt. You open the mail. The envelopes keep coming. The numbers are astronomical. The interest is compounding daily. You are drowning. What does the average weak-minded person do? They panic. They sit on the couch entirely paralyzed. They lose sleep. They complain to their friends. They let the anxiety rot their stomach. They drink or they scroll or they watch television just to numb the absolute terror of their reality. They are suffocating in worry, but they take zero physical action to change the math. Their lack of motion amplifies their negative emotion. They are defeated before they even step onto the battlefield. Now look at the iron mind. The iron mind feels that exact same terror. The iron mind sees the exact same bills, but the iron mind refuses to sit still. The iron mind understands the absolute truth. Motion beats emotion. The second the iron mind sees that mounting debt, they attack. They do not sit on the couch. They walk out the door. They immediately take a second job. They take a third job. They sell the television. They sell the car. They start a side hustle at midnight. They aggressively, violently attack the balance. They work 18 hours a day. What happens to their anxiety? It vanishes. It is immediately crushed under the massive weight of their momentum. When you're working 18 hours a day to dig yourself out of a hole, you do not have the time or the energetic capital to sit around feeling anxious. You have a choice. Every single time fear enters your mind, you have a choice. You can freeze or you can fight. You can let the anxiety build a wall in front of you, or you can use your action as a sledgehammer to smash right through it.
That's the key. Generating massive forward momentum before the doubt even has time to take root. You must eliminate the gap between the thought and the execution. When you feel the fear creeping in, you do not pause to analyze it. You move. If you are terrified of making a difficult sales call, you do not spend an hour writing a script. You pick up the phone and you dial the number immediately. Motion beats emotion. If you are anxious about your physical health, you do not spend 3 weeks researching the perfect workout program. You drop to the floor and you give me 50 push-ups right now. Motion beats emotion. If you are overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the project in front of you, you do not look at the summit of the mountain. You look at your boots. You take one single step, and then you take another. Motion beats emotion. It's not about your anxiety. It's about your absolute discipline. Everyone feels fear. The bravest people on earth feel sheer terror. The difference is that they do not let the feeling dictate their behavior. They outwork the feeling. They outrun the doubt. You must become a creature of pure momentum. A body at rest stays at rest, and a mind at rest will slowly drive itself insane. You must keep moving. You must become so relentlessly focused on your daily execution that anxiety literally cannot catch you. Your friends and your family will tell you to slow down. They will see your frenetic pace and they will tell you that you are running from your problems. They will tell you that you need to sit still and process your emotions. You don't need their permission. You don't need their permission to outwork your demons. You don't need anyone to validate your fear or authorize your action. They process their emotions by sitting on the couch and staying broke. You process your emotions by conquering your reality. Let them talk. You keep moving. Here is your behavioral instruction for today. Identify the single biggest source of anxiety in your life right now. The one thing that is keeping you awake at night. The task you have been putting off for weeks. I want you to attack it immediately. Not tomorrow, not after you finish this audiobook. Right now, do one physical thing to move the needle forward. Send the email, make the call, start the draft, pay the bill. Stop planning, stop strategizing, stop waiting for the fear to miraculously disappear. It will never disappear. You must step directly into it. You must drown it out with the deafening sound of your own footsteps. Motion beats emotion. Remember that phrase every time your mind tries to hold you hostage. You have learned to outwork your anxiety. You have discovered that momentum is the ultimate weapon against your own internal doubt. You have fortified your mind against the attacks from within. But a strong fortress can still be breached if the gates are left wide open to the enemy. Now we must examine the people you allow inside your walls. Now let's talk about the brutal necessity of subtraction.
Chapter 6. Sever Toxic Anchors. You outworked your anxiety. You found the relentless momentum required to crush your internal doubt. You fortified the walls of your own mind and took absolute control of your internal dialogue. But none of that matters if you leave the front gates wide open. None of your internal discipline will save you if you invite the enemy into your living room. Look at your life right now. Look at the people you allow into your personal space. Look at your group texts. Look at the people you spend your weekends with. Are they building empires? Are they forging iron minds? Or are they complaining? Are they fragile? Are they made of glass? You absolutely cannot build an iron mind if you are constantly surrounded by fragile glass people. It is a biological and psychological impossibility. You absorb the energy of your environment. You absorb the standards of the people closest to you. If you hang around 5 losers, you will inevitably become the 6th. If you surround yourself with victims, you will begin to speak the language of victimhood.
Society has sold you a massive lie about empathy. Society tells you that being a good person means going down with the ship. You think loyalty means staying chained to someone who refuses to swim. Wake up. Empathy does not mean allowing negative, stagnant individuals to drag you down to their level. If someone is drowning and they refuse to kick their own legs, you do not let them pull you under the water. You save yourself. Cut the dead weight. I will repeat this command until you finally let go of the rope. Cut the dead weight. Let us look at the hardest test of this exact principle. Let us look at the long-time childhood friend. You have known them for 20 years. You grew up in the same neighborhood. You survived the same schools. You have history. You have memories. But you must understand this brutal truth. Shared history is not a binding contract for your future. You made a decision. You decided to change. You decided to build an unbreakable mind. You stopped drinking your weekends away. You started waking up at 4:30 in the morning. You started reading, saving, investing, and aggressively building your future. You changed your entire frequency. What did your friend do? Did they applaud you? Did they ask you to teach them? Did they join you in the trenches? No. They mocked you. They called you obsessed. They told you to live a little. They laughed at your diet. They tried to drag you back to the bar. They tried to hand you the very poison you just spent months flushing out of your system. Why do they do this? Because your new ambition is a mirror. It is a blinding, terrifying mirror that forces them to look at their own stagnant, pathetic reality. Your success highlights their failure. Your discipline exposes their laziness. So, instead of doing the incredibly hard work to level up, they try to drag you back down into the mud. If you stay in the mud with them, it makes them feel safe. It validates their mediocrity. You have a choice. Every single time your phone rings and their name flashes on the screen, you have a choice. You can honor a dead past, or you can protect your massive future. You can be comfortable and popular in the mud, or you can walk away and breathe the clean, solitary air of the mountain.
That's the key. Recognizing that your loyalty to a toxic anchor is nothing but self-sabotage in a mask. You are letting guilt dictate your destiny. You are letting nostalgia rob you of your potential. Stop it right now. Cut the dead weight. People will call you arrogant. Your old circle will whisper behind your back. They will say you changed. They will say you forgot where you came from. They will say you think you were better than them. Let them talk. You don't need their permission. You don't need their permission to protect your energetic capital. You don't need their permission to outgrow the neighborhood. You don't owe anyone an apology for elevating your standards. You are not responsible for managing their insecurities. You are only responsible for executing your mission. It's not about your misplaced loyalty. It's about your uncompromising discipline. Your transformation requires a behavioral shift right now. Your assignment today is to conduct a ruthless audit of your inner circle. Look at every single person you spend time with. Put them into one of two categories. They are either engines or they are anchors. Do they push you forward or do they hold you back? Do they challenge you to be greater or do they invite you to complain? If they are an anchor, you must sever the line. Cut the dead weight. You do not need to stage a dramatic confrontation. You do not need to write a long emotional letter explaining your departure. You simply need to become unavailable for their mediocrity. When they invite you to gossip, you stay silent. When they invite you to waste time, you are busy working. You starve the relationship of your time and your energy. Eventually, the anchor falls away. I am not telling you this is easy. Shedding your old identity requires shedding the people who are attached to it. It will be painful. It will be quiet. It will be lonely. But an iron mind is forged in isolation. You must be completely willing to walk alone if the rest of the crowd is marching toward a cliff. Do not negotiate with toxic people. Do not try to save people who love their own misery. You cannot coach someone
who does not want to bleed for the victory. Protect your momentum at all costs. Keep your circle small. Keep your circle ruthless. Keep your circle hungry. Cut the dead weight. You have audited your life. You have severed the ties to the people holding you back, and you have accepted the isolation that comes with massive ambition. You are finally standing on your own. But true resilience is not just about who you cut out during the day. It is about what you do when the world goes to sleep. Now, let's talk about where your character is truly forged.
Chapter 7. Master the Dark Hours. You have audited your life. You severed the ties to the people holding you back, and you accepted the isolation that comes with massive ambition. You are finally standing on your own. But standing alone during the day is easy. Anyone can perform when the sun is out. Anyone can grind when the office is full, when the boss is watching, or when the gym is packed. The real test does not happen at noon. The real test happens when the applause stops, your phone goes quiet, and the world shuts down. We live in a society obsessed with the highlight reel. Weak people want to build their empires on a stage. They want an audience for their hustle. They want someone to witness every single drop of sweat so they can get a quick pat on the back. They post pictures of their alarm clocks. They broadcast their grind to the internet. That is fake resilience. That is performance art. True resilience is not built on a stage when everyone is watching. It is forged in the grueling, terrifyingly lonely moments when you desperately want to quit and absolutely no one is there to judge you if you do. Character is exactly what you do in total, suffocating isolation. Win in the dark. I need you to understand the supreme power of unseen labor. You must become addicted to the work that nobody praises. Win in the dark. Let me paint a picture of what this actually looks like. Let us look at the brutal reality of the midnight grind. Imagine you just worked a punishing 10-hour shift. It was a miserable day. You were disrespected, you were overworked, your feet are bleeding, your lower back is throbbing. It is midnight. You finally clock out. You commute home in the freezing rain, exhausted to your very core. You unlock your front door and step inside. The house is completely silent. The rest of the world is deeply asleep. Your bed is 10 feet away. It is warm, it is inviting. Your brain is screaming at you to collapse. Your body is begging for relief. The negotiator we killed in Chapter 3 tries to crawl back from the grave to tell you that you deserve to rest. What do? The weak person surrenders. The weak person rationalizes the retreat. They tell themselves they survived a hard day, so they have earned the right to quit. But not you. You walk right past the bed, you go to the cold kitchen table, you sit down, you open your laptop, you open your books, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, your eyes are heavy, your mind is foggy. Every biological instinct tells you to shut it down. But you sit there and you build your side hustle. You study for the certification that will finally get you out of that dead-end job. You put in 2 more agonizing, solitary hours of deep, focused work while your competitors are dreaming. Win in the dark. You have a choice. Every single night, when the exhaustion hits you like a physical wall, you have a choice. You can surrender to the fatigue like the rest of the herd, or you can leverage the silence to build your empire. The choice you make in that silent room dictates the trajectory of your entire life. That's the key. The silence is not a punishment. The silence is a massive competitive advantage. Nobody is calling you. Nobody is distracting you with useless drama. The dark hours are yours to completely dominate. When you work at 2 in the morning, there is no applause. There is no audience. There is no one to impress. It is just you, your massive ambition, and your absolute refusal to be average. You are stripping away the ego and leaving only the execution. Your friends and family will tell you to sleep. They will tell you that you are burning the candle at both ends. They will look at your bloodshot eyes and tell you to take it easy. You don't need their permission. You don't need their permission to work while they sleep. You don't need anyone to validate the hours you put in when the doors are locked and the lights are low. They will see the massive results in the daylight and they will call you lucky. They will say you have natural talent. They will never know about the blood you spilled in the shadows. Let them think it was luck. You know the truth. You earned it when no one was looking. It's not about your exhaustion. It's about your uncompromising discipline. Everyone gets tired. Exhaustion is a universal biological reality, but quitting is a psychological choice. You must detach your actions from your fatigue. You must condition your brain to understand that tired is just a feeling, and feelings do not dictate your output. When the body wants to break, the iron mind takes over and drives the machine forward. Here is your behavioral instruction. This is the transformation you must make today. I want you to completely audit your nighttime routine. Stop treating the end of your day as a chaotic crash landing. Reclaim the night. Stop doom scrolling on your phone in bed until you pass out. The hours before you sleep are the most critical, uncontested window of your day. It is the time when the weak seek mindless entertainment and the elite seek ruthless execution. I am challenging you to dedicate at least 1 hour of total isolation to your highest priority goal tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. When the house is asleep, you stay awake. No music, no social media, no distractions, just pure, unadulterated focus in the quietest part of the night. Prove to yourself that you can execute without an audience. Prove to yourself that your character is unbreakable even when you are completely alone. Win in the dark. You have mastered the dark hours. You have learned to find immense pride in the unseen labor, and you have fortified your character in the fires of isolation. But eventually, despite your best efforts, your preparation, and your massive discipline, you will face a devastating loss. Life will hit you with a blow you did not see coming. How you respond to that absolute destruction will define you forever. Now, let's talk about the alchemy of defeat.
Chapter 8. Turn failure into fuel. You mastered the dark hours. You learned to find immense pride in the unseen labor, and you fortified your character in the fires of isolation.
But eventually, despite your best efforts, your preparation, and your massive discipline, you will face a devastating loss. Life will hit you with a blow you did not see coming. You will fail. And how you respond to that absolute destruction will define you forever. Welcome to the most painful reality of human existence. You can do everything right. You can wake up at 4 in the morning. You can outwork your anxiety. You can cut the dead weight. You can put in the dark hours. And you can still lose. Society tells you that failure is the end. Society tells you to hang your head, to feel ashamed, and to hide your face. Weak people run from failure. They bury their mistakes in the backyard and pretend they never happened. They are terrified of the sting. They are paralyzed by the humiliation. You are not weak. You are building an iron mind, and an iron mind does not hide from destruction. An iron mind weaponizes its failures. It uses the humiliation, the embarrassment, and the sheer agony of defeat to propel future success. You must learn the dark alchemy of the elite. Burn the failure, use the heat. I will repeat it until your fear of losing completely evaporates. Burn the failure, use the heat. A loss is only a permanent defeat if you refuse to extract the lesson. If you fail and you learn nothing, you have wasted your pain. But if you fail and you rip the lesson out of the wreckage, you have just acquired a massive, undeniable asset. Failure is not a reflection of your worth. Failure is raw, unfiltered data. Let us look at a spectacular, humiliating public failure. Imagine you have spent the last 12 months building a company in the dark. You finally secure a meeting with a room full of massive investors. This is your moment. You step into the boardroom. The lights are bright. The stakes are everything. And you completely, spectacularly bombed the pitch. You stutter. You forget your own numbers. Your presentation crashes. The investors tear your business model to shreds. They ask questions you cannot answer. They look at you with pity and disgust. They tell you no. They tell you that you are not ready. They walk out of the room. You are left standing there, completely humiliated, stripped of your pride, and totally defeated. You have a choice. Right there, in the quiet aftermath of complete destruction, you have a choice. You can let the failure define you, or you can let it refine you. The weak entrepreneur goes to the bar. They drink to forget the humiliation. They blame the investors. They say the room was biased. They say the market is unfair. They retreat to their comfortable victim narrative and they never pitch again. They let the fire burn their house down to the foundation.
The iron mind takes a completely different path. The iron mind goes back to the office, sits in the dark, and turns on the tape. They brutally, ruthlessly analyze the game tape of their own destruction. They do not hide from the pain, they study it. Why did the presentation crash? Because the software wasn't tested. Why did they forget the numbers? Because they didn't rehearse under pressure. Why did the business model get torn apart? Because there was a massive, glaring hole in the supply chain logistics. The iron mind takes detailed notes on their own humiliation. They strip away the ego. They look at the failure as pure, objective data. That's the key, separating your identity from the outcome. You are not a failure. You simply produced a failing result. The result is just information. It is a map pointing directly to your weaknesses. You take those weaknesses and you eradicate them. You fix the software. You memorize the financials until you can recite them in your sleep. You restructure the entire supply chain. You use the intense, burning shame of that boardroom to fuel a 6-month sprint of absolute obsession. You become untouchable. Burn the failure, use the heat. When you re-enter the arena, you are a completely different animal. You are forged in the fire of your own destruction. The people around you will tell you to give up. They will bring up your past failure. They will remind you of the time you fell on your face in front of the whole world. They will tell you to aim lower so you do not get hurt again. You don't need their permission. You don't need their permission to step back into the ring. You don't need their approval to rise from the ashes of your own catastrophic mistakes. They are terrified of failing once. You are willing to fail 1,000 times to get the victory. It's not about your bruised ego. It's about your absolute discipline. Your transformation requires a total rewiring of how you view setbacks. Here is your behavioral instruction for today. I want you to look back at the last 30 days. Identify your single biggest failure, the one you have been trying not to think about, the one that still makes your stomach turn. Pull it out of the shadows. Write it down on a piece of paper. Look at it. Strip all the emotion away. Write down the top 3 tactical reasons why you failed. Not excuses, reasons. Did you lack preparation? Did you lack focus? Did you let fear dictate your actions? Now, write down the exact protocol you are implementing today to ensure that specific failure never happens again. Turn the pain into a policy. Turn the humiliation into a system. Stop running from the fire. Walk straight into it. Let it burn away your arrogance. Let it burn away your weakness. Burn the failure. Use the heat. Every time you fall, you collect data. Every time you bleed, you get smarter. You have weaponized your pain. You have learned to extract the lesson from the wreckage. You have turned your failure into a raging furnace of momentum. But to do this continuously without losing your mind, you must master the art of emotional control. You must learn to separate your soul from the chaotic swings of victory and defeat. Now, let's talk about the cold, calculated mindset required to survive immense pressure. Chapter 9: The Discipline of Detachment. You weaponized your pain. You extracted the absolute truth from the wreckage of your own failures. You turned the agonizing heat of defeat into a raging furnace of momentum. But a roaring fire is incredibly dangerous if it cannot be controlled. Momentum without direction is just chaos.
If you ride the emotional highs of victory and the crushing lows of defeat, you will eventually burn out. You will snap under the pressure. Now, we must master the ultimate defensive mechanism of an iron mind. We must master the discipline of detachment. Your emotions are a massive liability in the trenches. When things go entirely wrong, your biological instinct is to panic. You want to get angry. You want to despair. Conversely, when things go perfectly right, your instinct is to celebrate. You get arrogant. You relax your guard. Both of these reactions are deadly. They blind you to the cold, hard reality of the battlefield. To survive immense, crushing pressure, you must separate your core identity from immediate, volatile outcomes. You must remain completely, surgically objective. Emotional reactions lead directly to tactical errors. To enforce this cold, calculated mindset, you must adopt a new operating system. Observe, adapt, execute. I want this phrase echoing in your mind every single time chaos erupts around you. Observe, adapt, execute. Let us look at a catastrophic scenario that happens in the real world every single day. Imagine you are a business owner. You have spent 3 years bleeding to build a company. You finally land one massive client. They account for 60% of your total revenue. They are the pillar holding up your entire financial life. You feel secure. Then, one Tuesday morning, you get a short email. The client is terminating the contract immediately. No warning, no room for negotiation. 60% of your income vanishes in a single keystroke. What does the weak, emotional business owner do? They spiral. They throw a pathetic tantrum. They call the client begging for a second chance. They yell at their employees. They go home, pour a stiff drink, and declare that the business is entirely dead. Their emotional reaction creates a cascade of terrible tactical decisions. They bleed out on the floor. Now look at the iron mind. The iron mind reads the exact same email. The iron mind feels the exact same biological spike of adrenaline and fear, but the iron mind absolutely refuses to react. The iron mind detaches. They step outside of their own body. They look at the situation like a trauma surgeon looking at a patient on the operating table. The business is bleeding. Screaming and panicking will not stitch the wound. The surgeon must remain calm to save the life. Observe, adapt, execute. They observe the data. Why did the client leave? They read the email without ego. The client's budget was slashed. It is not personal. It is mathematics. They adapt. They realize that relying on one massive client was a critical structural flaw in their business model. They immediately pivot. They redirect their remaining marketing budget to target a completely different, decentralized demographic. Within 48 hours, they launch a new, aggressive campaign to acquire 20 smaller clients instead of hunting for one giant whale. They execute.
You have a choice. Every single time disaster strikes your life, you have a choice. You can let the chaos infect your nervous system, or you can step back, detach, and analyze the board like a grandmaster playing a game of chess. That's the key. True emotional detachment. You are not your business. You are not your bank account. You are not your relationship status. You are the architect managing these things. When a pillar crumbles, the architect does not sit in the rubble and cry. The architect redesigns a stronger support structure. It's not about your emotional reaction. It's about your objective discipline. When you operate with this level of detachment, you become incredibly dangerous. You become entirely immune to manipulation. People cannot use your anger or your fear against you because you refuse to give them access to those buttons. You remain cold, calculated, and focused entirely on the solution. If someone insults you, it is just data. If you lose money, it is just data. If you get rejected, it is just data. Your competitors will call you heartless. The fragile people in your life will say you are cold. They will say you don't care because you aren't screaming, crying, and panicking with the rest of the herd. You don't need their permission.
You don't need their permission to remain completely calm in the middle of a Category 5 hurricane. You don't need their approval to think clearly when everyone else is losing their minds. Their panic is their weakness. Your calm is your absolute superpower. Here is your behavioral instruction for this chapter. This is the transformation you must make today. The next time you receive bad news, whether it is a massive financial hit, a personal rejection, or a sudden unexpected crisis, you are going to implement a mandatory emotional quarantine. Do not send the angry text. Do not make the frantic phone call. Do not make a single major decision for at least 1 hour. Step away, breathe, say the words out loud. This is just data. Observe, adapt, execute. Take out a piece of paper, write down the hard facts of the situation, not your feelings about it, not your fears of what might happen next, just the objective facts. Then, below those facts, write down 3 tactical, unemotional steps you can take immediately to improve the situation. You amputate the emotion and you leave only the strategy. Observe, adapt, execute. Practice this until it becomes your default reaction to adversity. You have mastered your emotions. You have learned the supreme, untouchable power of remaining objective under crushing pressure. You know exactly how to observe, adapt, and execute when the world is falling apart. But all of these tactics, all of this mental armor, and all of this relentless discipline mean absolutely nothing if they only last for a season. Resilience is not a 30-day challenge. It must become your permanent reality. Now, let's talk about the final piece of the blueprint.
Chapter 10. Forging the Unbreakable Standard. You mastered your emotions. You learned the supreme, untouchable power of remaining objective under crushing pressure. You know exactly how to observe, adapt, and execute when the world is falling apart around you. All of these tactics, all of this mental armor, and all of this relentless discipline mean absolutely nothing if they only last for a season. You can do everything right for 30 days, but if you quit on day 31, you are still a failure. Resilience is not a temporary state. It is not a rental car you drive for the weekend. It is not a trendy challenge you do for the internet. It must become your permanent reality. Society loves a 30-day challenge. They love a New Year's resolution. They love a temporary sprint fueled by a sudden spike in motivation. Wake up. Motivation is a chemical trick. It evaporates the second your alarm goes off in the freezing cold. An iron mind does not run on motivation. It runs on an unbreakable, unyielding baseline. The standard is the standard. I want this phrase tattooed on the inside of your eyelids. I want it repeating in your subconscious every single hour of the day. The standard is the standard. It does not change because you are tired. It does not lower because you had a bad day at work. It does not fluctuate with the stock market, the weather, or the opinions of your family. You set the baseline, and you never, ever drop below it. Let us look at the most dangerous illusion in the human psychological experience, the finish line. Imagine a man who decides he is going to lose 50 pounds. He is disgusted with his body. He gets motivated. He goes on a strict diet. He trains twice a day. He suffers. He sweats. For 6 straight months, he operates like a machine. And then he steps on the scale and he hits the magic number. He lost the 50 pounds. He crossed the finish line. What happens next? The weak mind celebrates by destroying the very habits that built the success. He eats the junk food. He skips the gym. He tells himself he earned a break. He views his discipline as a temporary punishment required to get a reward. 6 months later, he has gained 60 pounds back. He is fatter, weaker, and more miserable than when he started. Why? Because his discipline had an expiration date. He viewed the goal as an endpoint. Now, look at the iron mind. The iron mind sets the exact same goal to lose 50 pounds. They do the exact same grueling work. They step on the scale. They hit the number.
Do they order a pizza? Do they take a week off? Absolutely not. They look at the scale, they nod to acknowledge the data, and they immediately walk to the gym to lift heavy iron. They view the goal not as a finish line, but as the new starting line. They do not regress because their identity has permanently shifted. You have a choice. Every single time you achieve a massive victory, you have a choice. You can let your foot off the gas and slide backward into the comforting arms of mediocrity, or you can press your foot harder to the floor. You can rest on your trophies, or you can melt them down to forge new weapons. That's the key, erasing the concept of the finish line from your psychology altogether. There is no finish line. There is no retirement from discipline. There is only the continuous, aggressive expansion of your capabilities.
If your standard is to make 100 sales calls a day, and you hit your massive monthly quota by the 15th of the month, what do you do on the 16th? You make 100 sales calls. The standard is the standard. If your standard is to read 10 pages a day to sharpen your mind, and it is 11:50 at night and you are completely exhausted, what do? You open the book and you read the 10 pages. The standard is the standard. What happens when life hits you? What happens when you get sick or when you face a personal tragedy? The weak mind uses the tragedy as a hall pass to abandon their disciplines. They say, I'm going through a hard time, so I will let my diet go to trash. They say, I am stressed, so I will stop doing the deep work. This is precisely when you need your standards the most. Your standards are the steel guardrails that keep you from driving off the cliff into the abyss. When chaos surrounds you, your daily execution is the absolute only thing you can control. You show up. You refuse to let the internal infrastructure collapse. People will tell you to celebrate. They will tell you to take your foot off the gas. They will invite you to the party because you earned it. They will say you are too intense, that you need to relax and enjoy the fruits of your labor. You don't need their permission. You don't need their permission to ignore the party and keep building the empire. You don't need their approval to maintain a baseline that absolutely terrifies them. Their baseline is comfort. Your baseline is greatness. It's not about your temporary exhaustion. It's about your permanent discipline. Your transformation requires a total destruction of your current timelines. Here is your behavioral instruction for today. Look at the biggest goal you are currently chasing. I want you to mentally cross out the date you plan to achieve it. Erase the finish line entirely. Write down the daily habits required to reach that goal and make a blood oath that you will execute those habits for the rest of your natural life. You are no longer trying to get fit. You are a person who trains every day. You are no longer trying to get out of debt. You are a person who operates with ruthless financial precision. It is not a temporary project. It is who you are. The standard is the standard. You have built the framework. You killed the victim narrative. You embraced the friction. You stopped negotiating with weakness. You severed the toxic anchors. You mastered the dark hours, turned failure into fuel, and detached from the chaos. Now you have locked it all into place with an unbreakable standard. The blueprint is complete, but knowing the blueprint and executing the blueprint are two entirely different realities. The theory ends right now. Now, let's talk about your final test. You now have the blueprint. You know exactly what it takes to forge an iron mind. There are no more secrets, no more shortcuts, and absolutely no more excuses left for you to hide behind. You are the sole architect of your resilience. When the world pushes, you push back harder. When disaster strikes, you stand firm. When failure whispers in your ear that it's time to quit, you drown it out with relentless, unyielding action. You do not retreat, you do not surrender, you do not break. But listening to my voice means absolutely nothing if you close this app and go back to your soft, comfortable habits. So here is your final challenge. I dare you to implement just one of these principles today. I dare you to choose the hard path right now. Subscribe to this channel to keep your mind sharp,
Drop a comment below with the exact standard you are setting for yourself today and get to work. The time for talking is over.